Well, we are just days away from the Iowa caucuses, the first contest for Democratic candidates in the 2020 race. But 4 candidates are in Washington for President Trump's impeachment trial. These senators will race back to the Hawkeye State in the short time that they have off from the hearings to make their case to voters. Ed O'Keefe is following all this from Des Moines, Iowa.
Senators Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Bernie Sanders are running for a new job, but have been stuck in Washington doing their day jobs. Speaking to CBS on Friday, Warren and Sanders admitted it's been a tough juggling act.
Look, some things are more important than politics. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution. We are now in only the 3rd impeachment trial in the entire history of the United States. Of course I am here.
So it is disappointing to me not to be in Iowa talking to the people there. But
don't you think it's important business?
Here? Well, of course it is, and I'm accepting my constitutional responsibility.
In their absence, the senators running for president have sent friends and family out on the road. On Friday night, New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez campaigned for Sanders in Iowa.
It's not that we can't, it's that we're scared.
While at the other end of the state, Phil Drobnik, the coach of the 2018 U.S. Olympic gold medal curling team, campaigned for Klobuchar at an Iowa curling club. Klobuchar's daughter, Abby, is also hosting hot dish house parties with supporters.
My mom has a bit of a scheduling conflict this week, so she's there, but I'm here. As she said, she's a mom, so she can do 2 things at once.
Earlier in the week, former presidential candidate Julian Castro campaigned for Warren. Just 9 days remain until the Iowa caucus. On Friday in Des Moines, a convoy of snowplows started clearing the streets in anticipation of large crowds and out-of-town caucus traffic. Andrew Yang, the only candidate in the state on Friday, talked up his idea for student loan relief.
If you commit 10% of your wages for 10 years, then you can emerge debt-free after a decade.
While in New Hampshire, former Vice President Joe Biden said Republican attacks on him aren't working.
Have you ever seen a president spend so much time trying to keep someone from being a nominee? I wonder why.
For the latest on the state of the 2020 race, I want to bring in CBS News campaign reporter Musadiq Bidar. So, Musadiq, you have really been in the state. You know a lot of what's going on. There are 4 presidential Democratic candidates who are senators, and they've been missing key moments in the campaign in Iowa. How's that playing out on the ground? Can you tell?
Well, the best thing they can do, as you just heard from Ed there, is deploy their surrogates. Senator Bernie Sanders has Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the state. She drew a big crowd last night in Iowa City, and she'll have 4 events for him today. Senator Sanders is actually expected at that 4th event this evening. Others are doing the same thing. Senator Elizabeth Warren deploying the Castro brothers, Secretary Julian Castro and his brother, Congressman Joaquin Castro, and Senator Klobuchar. The day the impeachment trial started, she had 16 lawmakers hold a press conference and a show of support and strength for the senator. And as Ed just mentioned, her daughter and husband are in the state as well. She interestingly also held a teletown hall from Washington, D.C., where the campaign says nearly 12,000 tuned in throughout the night. And then the other important thing here is having a strong ground game in Iowa. We have talked about the staffers and offices across the state. Senator Sanders' campaign says he has 250 paid staffers in Iowa. And what that means is they can go out, make calls, knock on doors, and canvass across the state while the candidate is out in Washington, D.C., performing their constitutional duties. So that's going to be an important thing to keep in mind as we head into the final few days.
You know, Musadiq, there's a New York Times poll out today. It shows Senator Bernie Sanders has a slight lead in the Iowa caucuses. As they're approaching, the poll shows Sanders has 25% of support. Then coming in next is Buttigieg, then Biden and Warren. What would you say this means for Sanders? I mean, you want to peak at the right time. We are getting very close to the caucuses. What's your read?
That's right, Rena. You are seeing Senator Sanders surge at the right time as we head into the final few days. He is up in that poll, and his climb has come at the expense of fellow progressive Senator Elizabeth Warren. She is down 7 points since that last New York Times poll. What all of this tells us, though, however, is there is a lot of volatility in the race. It's a game of runs. We have seen all the top 4 candidates at some point over the last few months take their turn at the top of the polls. But for Senator Sanders, a victory here in Iowa, where where he narrowly lost in 2016 to Secretary Hillary Clinton, would represent a remarkable comeback, especially when many thought that his campaign was on the ropes in October when he had a heart attack. And we talk about winning Iowa as having a lot of meaning and momentum. The delegate count is not going to be a lot, but the momentum you carry into New Hampshire and other states would be big. And for Senator Sanders, it may be tough for a lot of other candidates to stop him if he is victorious here in Iowa.
You know, Musadiq, Iowa voters are known for waiting to the last minute to make up their vote here and their choice. What's the sense of what you're hearing on the ground? You've got just a little over a week left. Have most folks made up their minds, at least the ones you're speaking to?
Well, Rena, what I'm getting a sense of is a lot of folks are feeling the pressure and anxiety to pick the right candidate. The latest Des Moines Register poll here in the state showed that 40% have made up their minds, but a majority are still trying to figure out who that candidate is. What I am noticing, however, is that the lists are no longer 4 or 5 candidates. It's down to 1 or 2. For example, a couple days ago in Dubuque on the eastern side of the state, one woman told me she is trying to decide between her heart, which tells her Andrew Yang, and her mind, which tells her Senator Bernie Sanders. Another voter told me she is trying to decide between Senator Elizabeth Warren and Mayor Pete Buttigieg. And these are the deliberations Iowans are having in their heads as we head into these final few days, is that when you put the day-to-day issues like healthcare and climate change aside, what's at the top of mind for everyone is finding the candidate who can beat President Trump in 2020. And the pressure and the anxiety of finding that candidate that can deliver that in November is starting to be a lot of people are starting to feel it. So I get the sense that most folks probably won't make up their minds until those final few days. And so these last week or so is going to be critical for the candidates to be in town and convince those voters.
All right. We'll be following you and your reporting, Musadiq Bidar in Iowa. Thank you very much, Musadiq.
Thank you, Rena.